work productively, and is able to make a contribution to their community. So when we are talking about mental wellness, we are looking at your psychological well-being, your emotional well-being, and your social well-being. This involves emotional resilience. Emotional resilience means that you're able to recognize your feelings and express those emotions in the right way. Therefore, you have to have some communication skills and being mindful of where you are in this exact moment and what your experience is. Then also positive relationships. You must be able to maintain supportive relationships where you communicate well, and these healthy relationships provide that support that you need, and they reduce the feeling of isolation, therefore improving your mental wellness. Then stress management. So there are some relaxation techniques that you can use when you're managing stress. There's something also called a stress kit, which is an emergency kit that you use in that moment when you're stressed. It can be a drawing book or a color book or maybe some music. When that stressor hits, it is that thing that you go to help yourself calm down. So everywhere you're going, you move with your stress kit or whatever item works for you, and then you can manage your stress more successfully. Then also time management skills and seeking support when needed. And then self-awareness. As I had earlier mentioned, you need to understand what are you thinking in this moment? What are you feeling in this moment? And then how are you behaving? And is your behavior directly related to how you're feeling? So you need to be very self-aware of who you are and why you act the way you do. So it also encompasses your hobbies. If it encompasses your personal vision and it encompasses your goals. So if you're really to have this holistic mental wellness that we are trying to promote, then you should be able to have hobbies and you must have a personal vision. There's a difference between a personal vision and your business vision, as we're going to see later. Then your physical health means that you do regular exercises. And whenever we mention exercise, people think we are talking about mugging or gymming or carrying this heavy stuff. Exercise is anything that can help you get your blood going, whether it is going for a walk or doing some sit-ups or doing a few push-ups or running around. That is exercise, where your muscles are moving and pumping your blood so that your chemicals are mixed in the right way. Then also getting adequate sleep, a balanced diet. All of these support your mental wellness by reducing stress and improving your mood. Then also there's the professional development aspect, where you need to constantly be learning, continuous learning and skill building. This helps your mental wellness because it gives you a sense of accomplishment, a sense of purpose and fulfillment, and therefore enhances your self-confidence. Then lastly, accessing support. So there are always mental health professionals. If that is too extreme for you, there are support groups, and then you need mentors. Mentors is an important aspect of mental wellness. And most times when we talk of mentors, people may think that we are talking about spiritual fathers, and that's what we see a lot of. But you need mentors in every aspect of your life, be it your relationships and all that. So here are some statistics that I am sure you have seen, that 14 million Ugandans are mentally sick. And this is a quote from the New Vision, that if there are 42 million Ugandans, then that means at least 2 other individuals that you know are affected. That means 1 in 3 Ugandans is suffering from a mental disorder. And as we've said, these mental issues, they start at the point of stress. Anxiety, depression is a silent killer. Before you know it, you want to jump off a building. And really, what we are doing today and why I'm here today is for us to capture this before it reaches that extreme state. So I'm Dr. Lisa Tumwine. And I have been in the health and well-being space for the past 8 years. And we've written a book about relationships, and everybody today will get a free copy. You can just email me. Thank you so much for attending and for making the time to show up to take care of your health and your well-being. Then we also have a new YouTube platform. It's called Zantu Speaks. You can subscribe. We shall be posting more of this content. It's new, so like, follow, and support. So I want to talk to you guys about this plateau of latent potential. I'm sure you've seen it if you've read Atomic Habits by James Clear. It is really what causes us to be stressed, because there is reality, as you can see the curve, and then there's what you expect. As a freelancer, you're putting in your time, you're putting in the work, you're improving your skill, and so you expect the curve to be that one, what you think should happen. But then the reality of it is that as time goes on, as you're seeing the curve, it's not really rising the way you thought. And it takes a long time before it rises up. And that is what actually happens. So in this moment right here in this bottom section, that is the valley of disappointment, where you feel like, is what I'm doing really worth it? Is the work I'm doing really adding up, And then you're in this valley of disappointment, and you're looking at other people who have already, exceeded that level, and you're saying, wow, how did they get there? And it stresses you and makes you feel like maybe you're not good enough, or it makes you second guess yourself or doubt yourself. So James Clear in his book explains that this is normal, and at this phase you need to manage your stress, but also be disciplined enough to remain consistently pushing with what you're doing. So here we are learning how to manage this stress, because stress is part of life. And with the economy that we are living in, it is something that we are not going to really be able to escape. So our only solution is to be able to manage it, to capture that stress before it leads us to, all those other extreme cases, like the mental illnesses that we don't want to get into. So here, when you wake up in the morning, you have a choice. You can choose to either take on a positive attitude or a negative attitude. When you take on the side of positivity, you can determine and say, today I'm going to do a task, or the many tasks that you are assigned yourself. That makes a difference. It's like the ripple effect of that ocean. Every ripple or every drop makes a difference and adds up. Or you can decide to go the negative direction and take on one stress per day, or one stress per minute or per hour, and let it pile up. And as it piles up, you're breaking. This other side also, you can decide to learn one new thing per day, because remember we said that learning and continuous improvement, it builds your self-confidence. Or you can choose to harbor one negative thought per hour or per minute and say, I'm not good enough, or I'm not like others, or I'm not confident enough, or I don't have the opportunities that other people had, or I am not gifted with the finances, or I don't have money. So you can choose to entertain one negative thought per hour, and it's going to pile up and become a mountain that's going to push you overboard. Also, on the positive aspect, you can choose to cultivate a good relationship interaction per day. Maybe communicating with a friend and saying, hey, oh, you look smart. Or, speaking a compliment to someone that didn't expect it, and maybe they return a smile back. That is cultivating a good relationship interaction. Or maybe reaching out to a potential customer and maybe booking a meeting with them. Or you can choose to harbor microaggression and lack of communication and harbor resentment and strain your relationships and get angry and quarrel at people. And at the end of the day, what is going to tip you over as a freelancer is the accumulation of all these negativities. So I'm here today to encourage us that we shall be on this positive side and to avoid that negative side. Earlier, I had talked about a personal vision versus a business vision. We all know what a business vision is. And right now, as a freelancer, I'm sure you have a vision for why you're freelancing or doing whatever you're doing. But I want to know if you have a personal vision, but then still, what is your business vision for the next 5 years? I don't know if I can get like 3 people to answer. What is your business vision for the next 5 years?
Feel free to put up your hand or to raise your hand whenever you're ready. Yes. Yes. Isekedi?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Kisekedi from Nachi Valley Refugee Settlement, and I have a project which is providing free access of basic numeracy and literacy to refugee children, and we are focusing in digital literacy. So our vision, our 5-year next vision is to make sure that every refugee child has access to digital literacy, because we have 95% of children in a refugee camp who don't have access to digital literacy. So, and there is 17,000 refugee children who don't have access to digital literacy. So by next 5 years, we are expecting to reach out 5,000 children who get skills in basic numeracy and the literacy, especially in digital literacy. Thank you.
You're welcome. Wonderful. Anybody else?
Good evening.
Yes,
Good
good
evening.
evening.
My name is Musinguzi Simon Peter, CEO and founder of Money Mind, and this is a financial management app. The vision of the business is to be the leading financial management app in Uganda. That's the vision.
Nice. Awesome. Last person.
Have any ladies in the house?
Yeah. Okay.
So, one last person, please. As maybe the last person is warming up. Chisekedi. So, what is your personal vision?
Yes, my personal vision is to make sure that I create a leading organization that support orphan street children.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. And Musinguzi Simon Peter.
The personal vision is to create a positive impact in the world.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Let's go back to
Any last person with a vision, business vision and personal vision? Anyone? It's okay. I guess we'll go ahead. Okay, so moving on.
So a personal vision, these are long-term aspirational goals and dreams that encompass various aspects of your life, including your career, personal development, relationships, health, and well-being. So I've had your personal visions encompassing your career. and maybe a bit of your personal development, but it must also include your relationships, your health, and your well-being. So this is Oprah Winfrey, media mogul and billionaire, and she's always spoken about having a vision board. I don't know how many people have a vision board, but it is somewhere where you outline all the goals that you're going to have. You can break it down as personalized as possible to suit you. Maybe if you want to break it down into 5 years, but it should include also things like your health. As you can see, your health, your passions, your family, those are the relationships, your love, then your wealth and your career is more of the things that you guys were sharing. But the personal vision should encompass all of this, and then you should be actively working towards it if you are to really have that holistic mental wellness that we are talking about. There's an African proverb, I think you guys know, that if there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. And then Admiral McRaven, a retired US Navy SEAL, he said that if you want to change the world, you start off by making your bed. So if you can get your personal vision right, then all the business visions and the career visions will also fall in line. So as we are doing this, this will be your assignment. But I also want to ask what your routine when you wake up in the morning is. If 3 people are willing to share, different from the ones who have shared, I'll be really happy about it. What's your morning routine when you wake up? What is the first thing that you do, or the first things you do? What's your morning routine? Anyone?
We'd love to hear from you guys. When you wake up in the morning, what do you do? What's your normal routine like on a normal working day or on a weekend? Whoever's ready can just raise the hand and go ahead. Yes, sir.
Yes, Kisahegedi, go ahead.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Chisegedi. You're mute at the moment.
Yes.
Yes.
When I wake up in the morning, I say my prayer. Then I brush my teeth. I take bath. I take my bag. Then I go to school.
Okay.
I teach up to 12 sharp. Then I go back. I take lunch. Then I come back to school to 2 sharp. I teach up to 4 sharp. Then I go home. I rest for half hour. Then in the weekend, I don't touch my computer, especially on Sunday. That is my routine.
Hey, thank you so much for sharing. Anybody else would like to share their routine? What do you do when you wake up in the morning? Yes, Sylvia.
Go ahead, Sylvia.
Good evening, everyone.
Good
Good
evening.
evening, Sylvia.
My morning routine on working days, I wake up at 4. I do some praying, like for 1 hour or 1.5 hours. Then I sleep in like a little and wake up again at 6:30, prepare myself to work. For work. I get at work at 8 a.m. and then I do my facial exercise. And then after that, I listen to some faith building message or motivation message, and then I start off with work. That's morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. Thank
you.
you for sharing.
I think I'll also just share what my morning routine used to be. So a few years ago, when I had just left university, what my morning routine was just jumping out of bed, brushing, and then I would take breakfast, and then I'll just jump straight into work. That was my morning routine. But little did I know that I actually into a workaholic. So basically, I would work from Sunday to Sunday, like all night, all day, and that took a toll on my mental health. And the reason why we're talking about this right now is, as she's mentioned, that in life we have things that can either be stress, they can actually accelerate our stress levels or anxiety. So little did I know that actually it was a negative aspect on my mental health, in that it took a toll on my relationships, it took a toll on my career as well, and I became unproductive eventually. And the importance of having a personal vision is such that you're able to look at all aspects of your life, your personal life, your relationships, your career, anything else that encompasses your life, that just makes you you, the things that you love doing, and having the ability to plan for them and making sure that you are able to actually get involved in every aspect. So you'll say, I'll work for maybe 5 hours, and then I'll make sure that I call at least a family member each and every other day to keep my relationships in check. In most cases, what most people do is that they are ready to just work, and just continue working. And that's why we're actually seeing rising cases of illnesses, mental illnesses, plus also terminal illnesses. We have issues like high blood pressure, cancer, and all these other things that just come along because simply we don't take care of ourselves or our bodies. Maybe we ate the wrong thing because we never took time to actually eat right, in a sense. So this is why we actually talk about the morning routine, because it just gets you ready for the day, in a sense. There was actually someone else whose hand was up.
Yeah, Barista Samuel. Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Well, thanks for giving me this opportunity. My daily routine basically relates on what I want to do. Always wake up at 5 a.m. and then I plan on how much I expect to earn in a day, even when I know that I do not have a job. But I believe because I'm into creative, like writing, so on and so forth. When I wake up, the first thing is to note in my notebook what I expect to do and what I'm going to write up. Then after I have written that, that's when I go for exercises. I exercise. When that is done, then I prepare for what I can write. I just go down on my PC and start writing ABC. And I think it has saved me a lot in that I have already programmed my day, what I'm going to do. And it has not always lied my instincts. What I have said during that time, that 5 a.m., has not lied to me. At the end of the day, I end up achieving what I had expected, and it is worth it. So basically, that's my routine. Waking up at 5 a.m., then write up something, then I exercise. After that, at 7:30, I start writing.
Okay.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, everybody. So the benefits of a good routine, as some of you have mentioned, are that it sets a positive tone for your day. It makes you more productive and it improves your mental health, but it also increases self-discipline. And we know how important self-discipline is for a freelancer. So this is an effective morning routine. When you wake up, you have to wake up at a consistent time. So if he said, like in Samuel's case, he said it's 5, then it's 5. In Sylvia's case, it's 4, then it's 4. Consistency. Because that consistency helps you to have a regular circadian rhythm. The circadian rhythm is how you that sleep cycle, how your sleep cycle is regulated. So it improves your sleep quality because after some time your body gets used, and that's the circadian rhythm. It gets used to a particular time and maintains that cycle. Then secondly, you need to nourish yourself by hydrating. Every morning when you wake up, it's critical because your the body's metabolism and your energy levels, they're a bit low. They're still in that rebooting phase. So when you drink water and you rehydrate, it gets your metabolism up. Preferably warm water, that's room temperature water, which is going to match the internal body temperature, such that all your organs can kind of like have a jump start and wake up. Then a healthy breakfast that fuels your body and your brain. And I'm talking healthy and nutritious. That doesn't mean just carbohydrates, but that right balance. We all know that there's a right balance that has to have your vegetables, your fruits, and all that. Then exercise, as some of you have mentioned, is very important. And I said it doesn't have to be like extreme physical activity, but it can be yoga or stretching or a simple walk. It boosts your energy levels and it enhances your physical health. Then stretches, just a simple stretch, you know. You can say, before I get down to working on my computer, I'll do maybe a stretch or 3 push-ups or 5 push-ups, depending on what is going to work for you at that time. Then mindfulness or meditation. Some people get that through prayer, but also having a conversation with yourself to say, hey, how are you feeling today? Are you feeling stressed? Are you still dragging the things that happened yesterday? Are you still worrying about what happened yesterday? Are you worrying about the future? How are you really doing? What's on your mind today? So you're having this conversation with yourself so that you can be present to understand what you're feeling in that moment. And then you're meditating to clear your mind and say, you know what happened yesterday stays in yesterday, and I am moving forward on a new clean paper, new clean page. So it helps you to reduce your stress. And another thing you can do is to start with positive affirmations. As Barrister said, that when you can write down those things, you know, and maybe say that today I'm going to achieve this, and I am strong, I am confident, I am bold enough to do this, I am experienced enough to do this. You affirm yourself, because this is the challenge that we have, is that most of us will be running to relationships. And this is me. This is really me I'm sharing about. I used to run to relationships to get the positive affirmations that I needed. And yet I needed to say them to myself. So all those wonderful words that you want the girlfriend, the wife, the husband to say to you, you start by saying it to yourself. You're amazing. You're brilliant for coming this far. You are strong, you know, you're a warrior, you are victorious, and you affirm yourself until you believe it. What this helps you to do is to set you out of from the negative mindset into that positive mindset. And then you plan and set goals and say, okay, today maybe I need to work on this project and this project and this project. You outline them in your notebook and then you prioritize. Oftentimes, the challenge is that we have a lot of backlog, a lot of work that needs to be covered, a lot of deadlines. But if you sit down and write it all out, you realize that, okay, this one is more priority than this one. So I'm going to work on this one first. Then this one will be next in priority, such that your stress levels can reduce. But if it's all just a pile of stuff that you have to do, it can make your mental health kind of affected. And so it reduces your productivity. A to-do list is something that can really help you organize your task and give you a roadmap for the day, whereby you actually highlight the times within which you're going to do and say, like, maybe from 6 a.m. to 6:30 a.m., I'll do a slight workout. Maybe from 6:30 a.m. to 7, I'll do prayer or meditation, you know. So you organize and say, maybe at 7, this is what I'll do. And at this time, I will take a break. So you give yourself the allowance to take a break such that your body can reset and you're not burnt out or overworked. And then in your break, you can go back to your positive affirmations. And I know the day is going to be stressful, or maybe this person is going to do that. And, you know, a lot happens throughout the day. So setting aside a special time for just reflection, resetting, and in the middle of the day, you just apportion maybe 10 minutes to say, you know what, all the goals you set out to do in the morning, you're able to achieve them. You speak to yourself and go back to your goals that you had set, revise them, and see, you could achieve this. You've achieved this and this and this and this that you've ticked off your list, and therefore I'm confident in you that you can achieve the rest. So you set aside that time for personal reflection in the middle of the day. And lastly, setting time for personal development is so important, because as freelancers, we always have to keep on growing and learning new things. As you can see, the age is changing, artificial intelligence today, tomorrow it's something else. So we are always reading or learning. Maybe it is a season in your life where you need to learn about relationships, or a season in your life where you need to learn about finances. Whatever time that is, learning is something you do intentionally. So you can set aside, you block aside time and say, for the next 30 minutes, I will read one chapter of a book every single day, a book of your interest, or I will learn something of interest for 30 minutes every single day. But as long as you're consistent, you will grow personally. So in this area of personal development, John Maxwell is a thought leader, and he stresses the idea that growth doesn't happen by accident. It requires intentional effort. So like I said, you need to set aside that dedicated time. And whether you're saying you're going to watch YouTube videos on a specific topic that you need to learn, or you're going to read a book about it, or attending a seminar or a conference, it is so important. And it's important to seek mentorship. So another thing I want to mention and highlight is mentorship. Sometimes when we think mentor, people think spiritual mentor, but you need to have a mentor in all of these different areas. You need to have a career coach. You need someone in business. If you're in this season where you need to be doing marketing, then you need someone who will mentor you through that season of marketing. If it is a season of relationships, then you need a relationship mentor or a coach. So the number of mentors you can have will be endless, you know, as long as you're in that season of growth that requires that mentor. It is so important because it helps you to gain different perspectives and experience, so that you don't have to first go through it and then figure it all out, because it takes longer if you have to figure it all out as you go through it, than if someone is there to say, hey, I passed through this, so I'm suggesting that you try this, you know? Yeah, so a mentor provides guidance, support, and valuable insights, and he helps you or she navigate challenges, build your skills, and achieve your objectives. They also hold you accountable. You said that today you're going to do 5 tasks to knock off whatever you need to do. Did you do the 5 tasks? You say today you are going to call 7 people. Did you call the 7 people to share with them about your business? You know, so they keep you accountable, and then they offer you advice based on their experiences, and they encourage you, you know, and that means that your confidence is going to grow, and you're going to grow faster, because now you have them and you have access. Once you have them, you have also access to their networks. Yes, and this inspires you to continuously learn and to improve, because there's someone that you can look to. So we provide mentorship, and if you need to book a call, we're available. You can subscribe, as I say, to Zantu Speaks. If you need more of our services, you can reach out to me on email and we'll be in touch. Thank you. I want to hand over now to Martin.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Lisa. So, before I go on to talk about another topic, what with mental health, I'd like to just understand, if I could just get one or two people, before you came today, what were your expectations? One or two people can just raise their hand. What were your expectations of today's talk? Anyone? Or in that regard, would anyone maybe tell us maybe what, if there's anything new that you've learned in this first session on mental health? Yes, Barrister, go ahead. Go ahead, Barrister.
Well, mine is in regards to mentorship.
Yeah.
Where she talked about mentorship. I wanted the doctor to clarify on how one can choose a mentor, because at times people of our ages have been victims of choose someone to be your mentor, but then the mentor doesn't take you in the direction that you wanted. So I needed more guidance on how to choose a mentor, and how do we handle our relationship with the mentors. Thank you.
Okay. So your question is, how do we choose a mentor, and how do we handle our relationships with our mentors? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Barrister. Andrew, yes.
Yeah, I was going to ask, but I see somebody else has a question, so I'm going to give way to Sheila. She's saying, is this the question? How do you bounce back mentally after hitting rock bottom without using words of affirmation? Because stuff sometimes doesn't seem to work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else who might also have questions as well? Andrew, on your hand, did you have a different question, Andrew?
Yeah, no, me, what had stood out for me was the fact speaking to yourself. I speak to myself a lot, and I believe from what doctor has said, if you don't speak to yourself when you are still sane, you will definitely speak to yourself when you run mad. So we have no option but to speak to ourselves earlier. So to me, that's what stood out.
Okay, all right. I once had someone who told me, when I was telling someone that I actually speak to myself, they said, then you must be mad if you speak to yourself. And I said, no, you don't necessarily have to be, mentally ill not to speak for yourself, but they just couldn't believe me in a sense. So we also said that there's also a certain perspective of how people understand mental health, especially in our culture as well. And we're trying to demystify most of these things that we do not understand. Anyone else who might have anything to say or a question? Yes, Innocent, tell us. Go ahead, Innocent, you're mute.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Innocent.
Yes, for me, I would like to ask a question about coming up with a routine. Because doctor was like, well, routine is a very crucial aspect. And for me, I wanted to ask if, because you coming up with a daily routine is also coming up with a plan, because you can't just come up with a routine when you don't have a plan about that routine. that you accept routine. So everything to me, it's like you have to first make up a plan for anything that you want to do. So my question is, if you want to come up with a routine, a daily routine, because it is in form of like a timetable or a plan. I don't know whether I am right about that. So I would like to ask you to tell me more about the plan and the routine, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
how to come up with a daily routine? I also saw Isaac. I seem to have the same daily routine that works for me personally, but it doesn't relate to my daily business. Do I need to revise my daily routine, and how, in a sense? That's also a question from Isaac. I also saw a hand from Chisekedi. Are you still there? You still have a question? Yes, go ahead.
Yes. For me, I wanted to add on what it was talked by the doctor.
Yes.
It's for what I've got for what she said. It made me understand that if you plan something in your daily routine and you don't accomplish or achieve what you plan, for many days you are planning something and you don't achieve it, or maybe if you say today that I'm going to call 5 people and you didn't call it, tomorrow the same, so there is a given time that it's going to reach and it's going to bring you something like depression. So it made me understand that we need to set the goal, not only setting, but you set something that you know, or you see that this I'm going to achieve, I'm going to do this. If it's this number of people, you set, you just do something that you know that I'm going to do this by the end of this day. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Can I take those? Is there any other? Let me first take those. And then we can move on. For Barrister, he was asking how to choose a mentor. First of all, you need to understand who you are and what your goals are. Maybe your goal is to, I don't know, write 10 books. So you are going to find a mentor that aligns with those goals. And oftentimes we maybe look into our inner circle, but because the world is now a global village, there are people that you can access via LinkedIn and all these other platforms. It doesn't have to be someone that is so close to you, but you can reach out to someone that you realize has that similar vision, and then you have a conversation with them, reach out to them and say, I was hoping that you could mentor me in this because I've seen that maybe you've achieved this, which is something that I want to do. So can we maybe have a meeting or, a lunch or a breakfast? In this lunch, you're going to set your rules for engagement. That is, if you have assessed this person and seen that, yes, they're the right fit for you. But at this lunch, you can also change your mind and realize that this is not the person that is going to be my mentor, yes. And then, sorry, let me just finish. And then after you have agreed that this is going to be your mentor, you set down rules of engagement, like how are we going to communicate with each other? Are we going to be speaking maybe like once every week? Will it be via Zoom? The importance of setting down these rules of engagement are that it manages your expectations, because you've gotten this mentor and you think they should be calling me every day, but then they're not calling you every day, and then they're not a good mentor. So this conversation helps you, both sides, to manage your expectations. I'm sure your mentor will also be able to tell you that for me, this is what I can manage. And so therefore, you can also discuss what you want to learn from them and what you need from them, and then your relationship can go forward. Yeah.
I just wanted to just add what she said. So looking for a mentor is much especially if you're meeting one who could possibly become a mentor, is more or less like as if you're the boss in this context and you're trying to hire someone. So put yourself in the seat of a person who's going to hire someone. Would you hire someone or this specific person if they are going to actually, if they actually, if they sort of align with your values? For example, if you're looking for a mentor, you need to first understand, as she said, who are you, right? Who are you? If you know yourself, you can write down. If you don't know yourself, go ahead and begin to assess yourself. Who are you? When you get angry, what do you do? When you're happy, what do you do, right? And then look at what are your values? What's your value system? If you're a person who values honesty and you're like, you know what, if I'm maintaining a relationship with people, I would love them to be honest with me because that's my value system. I would love them to always communicate on time, right? So it really depends on who you are in a sense. Now, having these people be in your place. So sometimes you might be able to actually get a mentor, right? But sometimes you might not be able to actually get a certain mentor because maybe they're far out of reach, maybe in a different continent, or maybe the person that you know is quite busy for you. So we have different rules of engagement. So we have what we call conduction, rules of engagement called conduction. So with conduction, it's where you meet with this person and you're able to meet them in person, in a sense, right? And then we have what we call convection. With convection, we not necessarily meet the person themselves, but we meet people who have interacted with this person. And you're like, okay, tell me about this person. How is their daily routine like? Who are they? It could be people who are in their close circles, right? And then you can learn from them through other people. Then there's radiation. The radiation rule of engagement is where you look at maybe if the written content, you go buy a book of that specific mentor and you read about what they're talking about. The beauty is we're also in the age of social media. You can go to Facebook, YouTube. If they have podcasts, you can look for their podcasts if they have spoken to people and get to really understand how they think, right? So it's not that every time you might actually get a mentor in person, but you can use these different rules of engagement to understand and learn from other specific mentors as you also learn to also grow yourself. Now, in most cases, you will also learn through reading books in a sense, and these books will also give you an idea of also a clear picture of how you can also get to other people who could also mentor you through radiation as well. You don't necessarily have to meet mentors in person, though that would be the most ideal situation. But because now we are more in a world where we have internet all over the place, you can also learn through convection or through radiation. So those are different rules of engagement if you actually want to maximize this field or this area. Yes.
Okay. Our next question was from Sheila. She's asking how to bounce back after hitting rock bottom, in summary.
And also if speaking to yourself doesn't work,
right?
It's failed to work. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So once you've hit rock bottom, the first thing you need to do is to accept that I am at rock bottom. Living in denial is the worst thing that you can possibly do. Once you've accepted this, you need to forgive yourself, because I know there are feelings of guilt, there are feelings of shame, like how could I even break down? You know, I'm the CEO of this and this and this. How did I even get here? So you are beating yourself up already for being at rock bottom. So you need to forgive yourself. Like I said, still, you have to have conversations with yourself. Remember, for your mental health to be holistic, your emotional well-being matters. So having these conversations with yourself and saying, you know what, Sheila, it's okay. It's okay to be at rock bottom. It's okay. People go through this stuff. You're not the first. You're not alone. So you have this conversation with yourself and you shut off. That is the mindfulness that I was talking about, that you need to catch yourself and say, okay, I'm beating myself up at this point. That thought was a negative thought. And you catch yourself and say, I'm not going to think negative anymore. And no, that's a wrong thought. I don't entertain it. And I'm going to reverse it. No, I'm amazing. No, I'm going to get through this. And so you keep catching yourself when you have those negative thoughts and changing them and altering them. Then you keep on loving yourself, because the best thing that we love to do when we are down is to beat ourselves. It's like you actually get a stick and you are beating yourself. You're not good enough. Look what you've done. Look at the mistakes that you've made. See other people. See you. You are the villain in your own story. So self-love is very crucial at this point, and that starts with the conversation you're having with yourself in your mind. So being mindful allows you to catch yourself when you're having negative conversations and turn those conversations around for the positive. And then you can begin to write down, as you said. But if really writing down doesn't work for you, you can start with small achievable goals. Just to add on to what Kisekedi was saying, your goals need to be smart, specific, measurable, achievable, reliable, and time sensitive. So your goal will be, if you're to start with a small goal, you say, well, today I just want to get out of bed. That is a really small goal. And once you have achieved your small goal, you celebrate yourself and say, wow, Sheila Kongs, you have gotten out of bed. You are so amazing. So if you can get out of bed tomorrow, maybe we'll get out of bed and get out of the house and go for a walk. So I'm just giving an example. I'm not saying that this is what Sheila is going through, but I'm just trying to show you how small the goal you're setting for yourself can be. That small, and you ensure that you appreciate yourself as you go through this journey. And also you can get people to help you walk this journey. You need a social support system, especially when you've hit rock bottom. A social support system consists not just of people that are encouraging you. That's one of them. There are people that provide that kind of support, encouragement, motivation, inspiration, but you also need people that are going to help you maybe with your tasks. The tasks that you're failing to do, like maybe you're failing to wash your clothes, you're failing to cook for yourself. A social support system can be a helper, a helper at home, or a sister that can help you with these tasks. And then another social support system you need critically at this point is that kind of person that's going to help you to go back to your goals. That will be maybe your business mentor or your career coach. Your career mentor is the one that is now going to be like, hey, Sheila, how are you doing? Today, did you achieve this? Or were you able to achieve the tasks? So you need a social support system. And when I say social support, I'm not talking about one person. And I'm not saying that one person should have all.
Yeah.
I'm saying you need a bunch of people doing different tasks, and it's you to take the initiative to reach out to these people, because how will I encourage you if I don't know what you're going through? So still you need to take the effort to reach out and say, hey, I'm a bit behind with my work. Or maybe you're reaching out to your career coach and saying, can you please give me a bit of motivation, because right now I'm feeling a bit down, or give me some encouraging quotes. So you reach out, resist the urge to self-isolate, because that is the speediest downward road. Yeah, I hope I have answered.
I can also ask, let me just add a few.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in my A-level, my senior 5 and senior 6, I was quite depressed. I went through a bit of depression in my teenage years. And especially for my A-level, what really helped me was I used to play rugby. So it actually helped me get through that season. And it could also be something maybe that you love doing, in a sense, or something that you're passionate about. If it's flowers, go for flowers. If it's, I don't know, drawing, just draw, in a sense. Because these things, as she said earlier, on something called a stress kit. So you know how we have first aid kits for injuries, pains, and all these things. We also have stress kits, and stress kits basically help us to relieve our stress levels, in a sense, right? Because if you don't manage your stress, you end up getting into a depression, in a sense, right? And where you literally hit rock bottom. Now, it might also depend on also the situation or the scenario that happened. Maybe it's debt, in a sense, and maybe some of these things may not be able to help you, in a sense, right? But that's where, as she said, coming to the ability to catch yourself as you think about these thoughts. Catch yourself in these negative thoughts and then ask yourself, right? Just think of the worst thing that could ever happen to you, right? And then you begin to ask yourself questions like, okay, if I've hit rock bottom and this happened, in a sense, ask yourself a question like, do I lose a leg? Have I lost an arm? Have I lost a finger? Think of the most painful thing that you could easily lose, right? And then begin to think about that fear, maybe that you're afraid, because eventually when we are depressed, maybe you begin to think about all of these other things. So you begin to think about all sorts of like things that will just take you downward and down and even downward, even lead to addictions or so many other issues, right? But you catch yourself in a scenario and you ask yourself the question, if this happened to me at this particular moment, have I lost a leg? No, I haven't lost a leg, right? If it's debt and it's piling, or anyone else here in a sense, and it's piling and piling, ask yourself the question, do I lose a life? What's the worst thing that could happen in a sense? Now, by playing the worst scenario that could happen and realizing, oh, I actually don't die in this scenario, in a sense. I might lose my dignity or whatever might happen, but I necessarily haven't really lost myself in a way. Now, you begin to deal with the worst case scenarios. And then once that's over, you now begin to now think about the things that you love doing, in a sense, whether it's hanging out with people, go ahead and do it. There's so many different ways, but we really encourage you guys to go read about stress kits as they help you to understand how to eliminate your stress levels or to lower your stress levels. I hope it's been of help, but if it's not, you can always get in touch with us. Andrew has our number. You can get in touch with us, then maybe we can have a much further discussion.
Yeah. Then Innocent, Isaac, and Godfrey, their questions are about routine. So let me just go over that again. A morning routine starts by you having goals. Like I said, when you want to prioritize your mental health, you must have goals, not just for your business or your career, but for your emotions. What are your goals for your personal development or for your relationships? Now, my monthly goal, for example, I'm using myself as an example. My goal for this month was to reach out more and call 5 friends because I've been so isolated and busy with my work. So 5 friends means at least 1 friend every week that I can hang out with and schedule a time for. So you tailor make your goals, and this is going to define what your routine is. So if your goal maybe is to grow spiritually, then your morning routine will be altered to that. If your goal is to lose weight, then your morning routine will include exercise. And if your goal is to maybe grow with regard to knowledge, then your morning routine will include maybe reading a book or watching a podcast. So it's not set in stone that this is the law. It's not set in stone. It is determined by who you are and what your goals are. But this is just a basic standard. And for those that are asking, how do you come up with it? When you wake up in the morning, it's the first thing that you do, whether it is praying. After praying, then what? How are you going to face your day? You can't just wake up and bump into your day if you're going to stay mentally healthy, because in that day waiting for you are all these stressors lining up, whether it is the financial problems or someone who also woke up in a bad mood waiting for you. All of that is waiting for you, and that's the reality of it, the fact that stress is a part of life. So in your morning routine, I made it that way because I'm saying, how are we going to face that stress that is waiting for you? Because if you just wake up and bump into it, it's going to tear you down. You have to set strategies. You have to have already spoken to yourself and said, you know what, I'm amazing, I'm strong, so that if someone said, "Gwe fala gwe," you are not moved by that because you already set a conversation in your mind. So my morning routine would include those affirmations, those kind words that I would speak to myself, so that my mind is already full of these words. And if someone spoke those words to me, they would have no place, because my mind is already full of a certain particular thing. So sorry, yeah. How best should a routine be? For example, how can I come up with a perfect routine that will align with my daily activities? Yes, so you need to know who you are as a person. What are your daily activities? What are those things that you need to knock off your list? So your morning routine will look like what those tasks are and what your goals are. Like a barista had shared that for him, he has to write, and so his morning routine would include all these that involve taking care of your mental and emotional health, plus then entering into that kind of work. So I don't know if I have answered that question.
So to also further add my insight, so Massa Godfrey is saying, he's asking, how can you make a daily routine effective for high productivity and efficiency?
Okay.
Well, number one, like we've talked about, you need to have a personal vision.
Yes.
The moment you have a personal vision, then you will know the small steps that you need to do on a daily basis in order to help you achieve that vision. So for example, a vision for right now, as we define it, is that thing that you really want to do that's going to even span the rest of your life or even beyond your lifespan, right? Now, there are different types of visions. We have competitive visions. Maybe I want to be better than my neighbor. These are competitive visions that some people have, There are different kinds of visions. But the vision that we're talking about is one that outlasts you, something that gives you meaning to life, in a sense. Now, the moment you have that vision, and that's why we're saying you need to sit down and really look at yourself. Who is Massa? Who am I? Who is Martin? What do I love? Right? What do I love doing that can actually help me make an income, in a sense, right? And if I'm to do it for the next 50 years, would I actually still enjoy doing it, in a sense? And then you begin to ask yourself, okay, if this is what I love doing and I think it can actually help me generate maybe some sort of income, I'm like, okay, so that's the vision. What's my mission? Because vision then follows mission. So you have a mission. Mission is going to be those activities you're going to do in order to help you achieve that vision. It could be, I need to go look out for different people who are going to ride along with me towards to meet this vision, in a sense. That's should be part of your vision. I need to, by in the next 10 years, probably, I need to, let's say, maybe have read maybe 100 books, right? And then you break it down. Okay, objectives. So that means in 1 year, I'm going to have to read 2 books a month or 1 book a month. If that's what you need to do, then do that. If your other vision is maybe to do gym work or anything else like that, high productivity, start small. You don't need to be very, very high productive within 1 day. Sometimes it just takes time. And you begin with the smallest unit of what you can do, and then you continue building it on, build on until you actually becoming more productive each and every other day. As my wife shared, there's what they call a valley of disappointment, right? So as you begin, our expectations are you begin exercising or doing whatever you're doing, you're going to go just like that. But in most cases, it's more like this, and then it goes up. Now, this is where most people give up. And then they begin to think, okay, I'm not being productive in terms of what I'm doing, what am I even doing, and they just give up. But as long as you continue being consistent, and that's why consistency is very key. You're consistent in this downward spiral, it will increase your tolerance for whatever you're trying to do, then you actually begin to grow upwards, in a sense, right? So that's the idea. There's a time when I was really unfit, and I tried running for like an hour, and I just couldn't manage. I actually read for like 20 minutes. And I said, okay, I'll never do this again. So, and then I said, how can I continue doing what I need to do, but starting small, but at the end of the day, I need to look at productivity. So I began by first exercising for 5 minutes, the next day 10 minutes, the next day 15 minutes, and I maintained 15 minutes for quite some time. And I said, okay, tomorrow I'll try 20. And then I tried 20 and actually became, so eventually I became stronger in a sense. But it first begins with first understanding what your vision is. Break it down into mission statement, objectives, right? And then goals. And then you just do a small thing at a time, a small thing at a time. And I believe eventually you'll be highly productive.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that your business vision or your company's vision is different from your personal vision. Your personal vision must encompass your relationships, your health, your well-being, and your psychology, you know. So all that must be encompassed in a personal vision. It's so we have encountered so many people that have this other vision, but this other vision is lacking. And so because you don't have a personal vision, like you said, maybe I want to gain so much knowledge, and it varies. A personal vision is not like a business vision. The difference is a personal vision changes with your changing season. So in this season, I want to get married. My personal vision will be different from the season where I'm now married, and it will be different from when I have children. So your personal vision changes there. It's a bit more short term than the other business vision or your company vision. And now your personal vision, like he said, is based on the goals that you want to achieve. Like he gave the example of, I want to read 12 books this year, and that means 1 book every month. You see how I'm now breaking it down? 12 books this year means 1 book every month. 1 book every month means every day I need to read at least 2 chapters or 1 chapter. That now affects my morning routine or my evening routine. So if the morning is a bit too busy, you can still push it to the evening and say, I will block out 20 minutes to read this 1 chapter of this 1 book, because that is what my personal vision is at this moment. And if your personal vision was weight loss, like he said, or gaining your relationships back or your social friendships because you're becoming like an isolated person, then the routine will change. Maybe in the morning I'll call someone, and then in the evening maybe I'll call a friend and talk for 5 minutes. So yeah, you kind of get the flow. And then if it is with regard to your health or your emotions are all over the place, then you say, when I wake up, I'll speak to myself, or I will journal, or I will first center myself and meditate on certain things, you know?
Yeah.
Yes.
And also just to add to that, as she said, we have the short-term visions, we just have mid-term visions and long-term visions.
Yeah.
And it's very important to have these different sections. The short-term vision, maybe next 5 years, 1 year.
Yeah.
Mid-term, next 5 years, and long-term, like what are you going to be doing for the next 50 years of your life? That's pretty long-term, or even beyond, in a sense. And I think that's the last question to just answer. Isaac Ashaba says he has a daily routine that doesn't relate to his daily business. How do I revise my daily vision, and how? Well, it really depends. For example, if this other routine you're doing is not related to your business and it's not doing you any harm, I don't think there's any problem. There might not really be any problem. But if you wish to maybe switch it up, change a few things here and there, you need to look at what your daily business is. What is your daily business? If your daily business is the one that requires skills, I believe all businesses require skills, then you'll be like, okay, I am going to acquire a new skill so they can be better at my business, right? And then that's now how, you start to incorporate a habit into your routine that can be more related, let's say, to your daily business in a sense. So that's one way you can do it, right? You just basically look at what your business entails, and then you look at what you can do to make yourself more productive in that regard. Okay. I will move on to the second talk for today. Thank you. So, mental health. Again, mental health. So my name is Martin Tumine. I'm a software engineer. I've been one for the past 8 years. And right now at Zantu, we render services such as CTO as a service, where we help businesses with their digital products. And we also co-founded Zantu Speaks, which is a mental health platform. I'm more into the technology aspect, but I also have life experiences and I also read a lot. So that's how I'm also able to contribute as well to our talks on mental health. So my talk is mainly going to be about love and inner voices and your outer voices, right? So basically we have what we call inner voices versus outer voices. And depending on how you listen to these voices, it's definitely going to affect you, how you operate. It's going to operate, it's really going to affect you. I'll give you an example. There's a story, some of you might know about it, about a frog. And this frog was told, so we have a group of frogs, and they were told to climb up a wall. And when they began climbing up the wall, some of them fell down. Excuse me. Now, those that fell down began saying to the other ones, "You can't make it, it's too high." And more of them kept falling down. Eventually, only one frog made it to the top, right? And the reason why that one frog made it to the top is because it was deaf. It couldn't hear, right? Now, because of what we listened to the outer voices, now the outer voices are what other people are saying about you. You say, I'm going to move out and I am going to go on a journey and I'm going to be a freelancer. You might say, I'm not going to look for a job, I'm going to be a freelancer and I'm going to do this. And then maybe a family member is saying, no, you can't. You're too young. You know, you have no experience. How are you really going to do it, in a sense? Now, that inner voice that you have needs to be strong enough to hold you when no one supports you.
Yeah.
I'm sure all of us have gone through one of those periods where there's literally no support and the only person holding you is you, right? And that's your inner voice. Now, another story. Another story is one that is a bit dire. I knew a person who, she was amazing. She was beautiful and really clever and very brilliant. And this person wanted to become a doctor at some point. Now, she didn't like her physical look, in a sense. And other people would say, but you have all these amazing things. I mean, you're a doctor, you are a really good musician, you know how to do all these other things, you're self-accomplished. But her, on the inner hand, her inner voice was telling her how she looks overweight, how she looks fat, how other people look at me when I enter a taxi, how other people look at me when I'm just jumping onto a border, how they laugh at me. And several years down the road, the person ended up committing suicide. But you also see how your inner voice, depending on how you use it, can also be dire to you. What the outer voices are trying to encourage you, trying to show you, see what you've done. But your inner voice is literally beating you up. Now the question is, where do you lie on this spectrum? How do your inner voice match up to the outer voices? And how are you dealing with all this? You know, now this affects your mental state. And it happens to every one of us. It happened to me. I remember I finished university and I said, I'm going to go out and be a self-employed developer. And I said, okay, I'm going to go and just write code and I'm going to just look for people to build websites for, in a sense. And I didn't really receive much support from my family because they thought, okay, Martin has probably lost it. I mean, how can you go to university? They're trying to give you a job, but you're not going for the job. And then here you are, right? In a sense. But my inner voice was pretty strong enough. And I said, I can do it. I can make it through, right? So inner voices versus outer voices, you need to be quite careful. And this is where we begin talking about love and the aspect of love. I'll just move on to the next slide. Now, this here, right here, is a graph. So for those that did biology, you might see this, or you might remember this in a sense. For those who didn't, I'll just explain this to you. So this is a study that was done years ago by scientists, and they got bacteria and put it in a petri dish, right? And this bacteria, they give it all the nutrients it needed to multiply and to grow. Now, right here we have the lag, then we have the exponential growth, and then the stationary growth. Now, what's happening within the exponential curve is where we have all the nutrients, and then there's just enough to sustain everyone. We go up to the top where we have the stationary. Now, what happens in stationary is there's the population of the bacteria has multiplied like 1,000-fold, maybe 1,000,000,000-fold. And there's now scarcity is now beginning to appear, right? There's not enough for every bacteria to survive. And the next thing you know is the death phase, where we just go all the way down. The population begins to die out, right? Now, you can relate this to what's currently going on around the world and all around us right now, literally, right? So we have graduates coming out of university, right? But probably only 20% of them or less are only eligible to actually get jobs or can actually find jobs. And the jobs that are being created every year are just not enough to get everybody in there. But remember, those are educated people in the formal workplace. What about the informal workplace as well? What about people who never actually made it through in life via education? How are they supposed to be? How are they supposed to survive? And now this is happening around us, and mental health is becoming a really important topic because we live in a world where we have internet, we have smartphones and everything, but they say that we are the loneliest people of all the ages that have ever been here on earth. Why? Because we have cut off a very important element, and that's the element of human connection. You spend time on your phone, social media, Facebook, and all these things that you're trying to do, and then the next thing you know, you're alone. You have no one to talk to. You feel like you don't fit in society or in specific groups, in a sense. And then now that begins to take a mental toll on you. Now, let's look at this. So we have stress. So how we actually move into more critical situations. We first begins with stress. Stress is good, right? Because it gets you, it gets your body the ability to defend itself or to be ready for something. And then we have anxiety. And then we move on to depression. Now, these are all stages. If you cannot manage your stress, you're eventually going to fall into the category of anxiety, right? Where it now begins to take even more toll on you. And then eventually depression. Now, people come from all spheres of the world, all spheres of stages in life and anything else. Now, looking at poor mental health. Poor mental health can be caused by a number of factors, but the main factors are three: biological, life experiences, and also social factors. It might be that maybe the person was born like that, right? And probably they have chemical imbalances and they still need drugs to help them get their hormones in normal balance in that situation. Or life experiences. Maybe you went through a really bad heartbreak. Someone dumped you, and then you cried yourself almost to death. Some people, and then here you are traumatized. To move on, maybe to another relationship, or to move on with your life in general, you'd be like, I cannot move on with my life. It really depends. It could also be an accident that maybe disfigured you or disfigured someone, and they cannot move on with life, in a sense. Then you also have the social factors. Poverty. Imagine someone who's grown up poverty, who has grown up in poverty ridden environment for all of their lives. Or maybe it's discrimination, color of your skin, or whatever it might be. Maybe because you don't fit into some place, you're literally being pushed aside because you literally don't belong there. Maybe because of how you talk, how you look, or anything else like that. Now, all these contribute to poor mental health. Now, we all need to learn how do we deal with stress before it goes into anxiety, before it goes into depression. And excuse me. And for some cases, you just go all the way to depression, in a sense. And it happens. It has happened to me. It has happened to my wife, to so many kinds of people. And this is basically part of life. But the question is, how do you pick yourself up, right? And let's talk about the stress kit. And when you're depressed, maybe the stress kit doesn't work. Maybe, as Sheila said, maybe speaking to yourself doesn't work. As she said, get yourself a support group. You can't be alone in these situations. Get someone to help you through these mental steps, right? And it's okay to take a break sometimes from the rush hour of life. I've personally met developers, software developers, who take on job after job after job, and they have 3 projects and they're not sleeping. And now, next thing you know, they're not taking drugs to just keep their rhythm moving, in a sense of can finish all this work, right? But because, where does this all stem from? It all stems from a place of lack of self-love. That's basically where it all stems from. If you really loved yourself, you wouldn't put yourself in a situation where you are now becoming addicted to certain substances in order to help you function through certain things, in a sense, right? Let's just talk about the brain here. Now, this here is a figure where we have, so this was a study that was done, and this is an MRI scan. And they just look at the images of the brain when the person is depressed and when another person is depressed. Now, depending on the individual, some places might still be hyperactive. So when you're looking at, at this brain image where there's no depression, you see these centers that are lit with red, orange. Now, those places are highly functioning. Moving on to a person who's in a depressed state, here we have less of that happening. So meaning that some parts of your brain are literally not functioning. Now, scientists said that continuous stress, depression, anxiety eventually leads to brain damage. Why? Because some parts of your brain are literally not being activated as they should in a normal state. And next thing you know, you are literally probably breaking down. That's why people just literally break down. A person is happy, but then they begin crying out of nowhere, right? They're all of these states. Now, we have a hormone called cortisol, as you can see the words. Now, cortisol is basically a chemical, right, that's produced within our brain, right? Now, constant production of cortisol begins to affect a specific part of our brain called the hippocampus. Now, this hippocampus, okay, is the part that is responsible for memory and learning, right? That's why when a person is constantly stressed, the hippocampus is constantly hit with cortisol all the time. Eventually, they begin to lose their memory. They begin to forget things easily. That's why you've seen people who go for job interviews, and because they're constantly so stressed, they've been stressing it out for like a full week, they've been practicing, and then at the same time, they're like, oh, they might abuse me, all that. You reach the job interview, and then you forget to even say your name for some cases. Or you're sweaty, and then you forget to say certain aspects about your CV, in a sense, right? But it's because of this constant hit to that part that you begin to forget certain important things of your life. Moving on, we have a chemical called dopamine, all right? Now, sorry to take you guys through biology, but this is very important because it really affects all of us. Now, dopamine is basically a chemical that is produced to help us prepare for a certain either stressful situation, in a sense, or tense situation, right? Now, people who normally fall in the category of drug addicts, porn addicts, alcohol addicts, normally, in most situations, is they have been put in a scenario where they've been in a stressful environment, and then they had to turn. But so because there's been so much dopamine in your body, you need something stronger, something that can make you feel alive. And then maybe people go into drug addiction, they begin drinking alcohol to make them really feel alive, So you begin with one bottle, you feel alive. Then you drink one bottle the next day and you just don't feel alive. You're like, I really need to feel high. So goes on to drink 2 bottles, 3 bottles. Same thing with drugs. You taking a certain aspect of a drug that produces a certain amount of dopamine. So the dopamine in your body is produced to make you get that thing. And once you achieve it, you feel calmness around you. But because your body has become so used to that level of dopamine, you're like, you know what, I need something stronger. And that's why people go off the rails by going on for more stronger drugs, stronger alcohol, or even if it's pornography, it's even becoming stronger. Now, all this is happening in our world right now, simply because of certain stressful environments. The environment is very, very important. If you keep yourself isolated, if you keep yourself in an environment where there's so much stress, or it's at work and you feel so stressed, right? Take yourself off just for a bit. Or some people actually gone down to actually quit their jobs to find something more fulfilling. And that's why we are saying, look at your personal vision. What is your personal vision? We're having people dying of heart attacks so much. Suicide.
Yeah.
People do not find meaning in work. A lot of people don't, because they're in the wrong place. The job you're doing does not align to your personal vision, in a sense. And because there's a conflict in you, there's stress, right? And then you find relief in something else that makes you feel better, right? But it doesn't, because it's just a short sort of feel good effect. What you actually need is to manage yourself by first understanding who you are. And that's why we were saying, what is your morning routine? Write something about yourself. How do you feel? What do you love doing? And that's why you're seeing more people writing articles or blogs online where they're saying, I quit my job and I went and did this other thing and I found a much better life. I feel more at peace. And this is very, very important for each and every one of us. Now, with depression, because we are depressed, we need more of that dopamine to make us feel alive. And more of that can come from all sorts of scenarios. We've seen some people who are actually in very, very bad relationships, which are not healthy at all, simply because they feel that dopamine in that, okay, if they abuse me, I just feel that rush. But it's because of your of your mental psyche. You've been accustomed to being in a very bad depression relationship. For example, if you were born in a family and they constantly abused you, chances are high you're going to get a lover who is going to constantly also abuse you if you don't work on yourself. And these are patterns, and people don't realize that these are actually patterns. If you find yourself in a scenario doing a habit that you don't like, that is really bad, that means it started somewhere in your life and you never really managed it well, right? Moving on. Now, this is a picture of someone who is depressed. So what people think about people who are sad or depressed, you just think a person who's depressed is just sad all the time. But a person who's actually feeling it sometimes feel nothingness. They hate themselves. That's what self-loathing means. They're anxious, they're guilty, they isolate themselves, they feel hopelessness, they feel all sorts of these emotions, but not until we begin to sit down and understand and have a sit-down conversation and be like, how do you really feel? You know how you go to a friend and like, how are you? I'm fine. How about if you actually went and said, how are you really? I know you're going to say you're fine, but how are you? How did you sleep? How did you wake up? How are you feeling? What do you feel about today? What makes you feel about today? And because people don't receive this sort of love from other people, the outer voices are not able to love. The inner voices overtake the outer voices and they begin to hate on themselves. And this is something that we really need to understand, the inner voice versus the outer voice. All right, now, which leads me to my final step, and that is affirmations. But it first starts with love. But what is self-love to you? Right? And I've gone on to understand, but before I actually go on to define what love actually is. Maybe anyone who could define what love is, or what do you think love is? Anyone in the chat? You can just put up your hand and just define what love is to you. Anyone? Yes, Barrister. What is love to you? How do you define love?
I think various people would want to define it based on the various experiences they have had with love. But to me, love is something that comes up naturally. It comes up with acceptance. You feeling the situation or feeling someone, you accept that for the moments you have had, they can be fruitful with that person. Or in regards to whatever you're doing, those moments count. To me, that's love. When you make something count and you put affection towards it.
Thank you, Barrister. Anyone else who might have another definition or what love is to you, in a sense? Anyone? Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Go ahead.
About me, according to me, what I understand what love is. Love is the feeling that you develop about someone or something.
Yep. Feeling that you develop about someone or something. Okay. Masa Godfrey says in the chat, love refers to a bond between two or more people. A bond between two or more people. All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much for these answers. Now, I'll ask you a question, right? What if you don't feel the love? What if you don't feel like loving someone? What if you don't feel like you have a bond with someone? So the question is does love stop being in that relationship if you don't feel the bond anymore, or the experiences or anything else that you feel, in a sense? And this is very important to understand, because most people have been brainwashed, I would say, by the media, because what we think love is feelings, in a sense, right? But love isn't feelings, because feelings are just basically chemicals. As I've said, we have cortisol, we have dopamine, and all these sorts of chemicals within our system, and they make us feel certain things, act a certain way, in a sense. But when you don't have those chemicals running in your system, you might not necessarily feel the bond, right? Or that feeling of love with someone else. And that's where we need to look at a much higher order of what actually love actually is. And this is what love is, right? Love is not a feeling, but love is patient. Love is patient. Love is kind. Now, in the moments when you're depressed, are you patient enough to say, okay, I'm really feeling down right now, but I'm going to be patient through this scenario. I don't need to rush myself and go to work the next day or do something that I need to do. I just need to just sit back and just take a chill pill, relax. Are you patient enough to love yourself that way? Are you able to love yourself by being kind? Rather than saying I'm a failure, rather than saying I am fake, you could say things like, I might look like a failure, but it's just a process. I'm in the valley of disappointment, right? Speak kind words to yourself. Love does not envy. I've literally seen people go crazy because of what they don't have, because of what someone else has. And then they're like, okay, I need to have that. And they become so anxious and so angry and all this. But love does not envy. You simply first have to come to an understanding of who you are, right? Who you are. Understand who you are. Once you understand who you are and where you are at, and accept where you are at, then enviousness does not necessarily have to spring up in your heart, right? It's not proud. Love is not rude. It's not self-seeking. You share, right? For example, some of you guys might be freelancers, some of you guys might be business people here as well, or not, or maybe students. If a deal landed from somewhere, my question is, would you give it over to the next person? Would you give it to your friend and be like, hey, there's a business deal, but take it on? Or like for you to take it on? Because you also want to see someone else grow as well, because you simply have decided that I want to see someone else grow, so take it on. It's fine. I know there's another thing coming, right? It's not easily angered. It keeps no records of wrongs. Some of us remember the bad things we did 10 years ago, and you're still beating yourself up because of those things you did 10 years ago, right? Question is, have you forgiven yourself in that scenario, right? Love does not delight in evil things. If you see someone else failing, help them. I was learning about being a leader, and this person said that how I hire leaders is if I see someone who talks about caring for other people and helping other people. The moment I see someone who wants to help people and help them become better, I'll hire them. Right? Are you the kind of person who laughs at someone else's wrongs? If someone messes up in the workplace, do you like secretly laugh and be like, ha ha ha, you should have done this? Or are you the person who actually takes a step further and says, you know, let me just help you? And actually don't need to be in a position of leadership to actually help someone, in a sense, right? Love protects. Do you protect yourself? Because you need to also protect yourself from people who speak negativity in your life.
Yes.
If you're in an environment where people speak negativity, remove yourself from that environment, because you need to protect yourself and your mental health, so that you'll be able to learn how to protect other people when someone is speaking negativity into them, right? Lastly, love always perseveres. Love is not a feeling. Love is a choice. You choose each and every other day that today I am going to do this not to accomplish my goal, my mission, my vision. It always perseveres. So love is not a feeling. That's something that I had to learn the hard way. It's a choice. And with that, I have come to the end of my talk. Here we have our platform called Zantu Speaks. And in case any one of you wants to reach out, do get in touch with us. We have our website. You can always reach out on our website. Andrew has our number, or we can share with you our number as well. And also, they can subscribe on Facebook as well, so that we can be able to have these conversations and simply help people. We have also written a book called
Love in a post-pandemic world.
Yeah, Love in a post-pandemic world. And it's basically about relationships, because we noticed that people get into really bad relationships, and we said we want to actually write something that will actually help other people, and it's actually free of charge. We're giving it away free of charge. So please, if Andrew, maybe you could share with us maybe people's emails, we can share the book with them and share it to your wider circles, so that people can actually get to understand how to get into really good relationships to actually help them in their mental health. And with that, thank you very much. Thank you very much for listening, guys. Yeah, I pass over to Andrew.
Okay, thank you so much. People are appreciating in the chat and with the emojis. It's been insightful. I appreciate for the session, business and mental health. Yeah, people have been really taking notes and listening and learning. Thank you so much. Even me, I've been taking notes. So everyone who is on the call and they have registered, they have the RSVP for the Freelance Business Month. We will definitely share with you the book via email. yeah, we'll do a mass emailing list so that everyone benefits from this. And then also this recording is going to be available in the next 1 hour in case you know someone who would need what we've been talking about, you can share. Thank you so much, the Tumwines. Thank you so much, everyone who attended. Thank you so much. I think we've come to the end, unless there's one last question. Is there any one more question?
I see.
Yes, yes, I have.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we are going to have 2 questions and then we sign out.
Yes, can I start?
Yes, you can. You can.
My question is, I remember you talked about when someone is talking something negative to others or to another person.
Yeah.
I remember recently here, as I told you, I'm a teacher. I remember recently there in a refugee camp. Now it's 1 month ago. So on the day of distributing the report card to students, there was a girl whom she has 12 years since she started. So that was her first time to come to school since she was born.
Yeah.
Then at the end of the time, that one was the last one in the place. Then her mom came after getting the report. Her mom came, starting to blame, starting to say bad things. You are fool. You don't have mind. Abusing.
Yeah.
Then we tried to tell the mom, you leave. You know that since she was born, this is her first time, and we have seen that she's improving. But at the end of the time, the mom kept on abusing until they reach at home. Then that young lady, she decided to tell someone, one of his young sister. For me, I'm leaving. As my mom told me that I don't have mind, so for me, I'm living here, and I'm going to see maybe a place where I'm going to get someone who consider me as someone who has mind. Though I didn't go through at school, but I do other issues. I help you, I help her, and I do other issues. And this was my first time for me to go to school, and I'm still having only 3 months at school. I do not yet read. I do not yet. I don't know even how to read and how to write. Then she wanted me to go up to be the first one. Is it my problem? Is it her problem? So at the end of the time, when it reached 4 p.m., that lady left the house and she went. Then when it reached 6, her mom came and started asking, hey, where is your sister? Then they said, we saw her. She has gone there. We don't know where she has gone. So the mom think that one was around. That was not that. The girl disappeared from home. Up to now, I'm telling you, we do not yet find the girl. We tried to look, we report to the police. Up to now, the girl disappeared. So that made me understand talking someone talking to someone or telling someone negative things. It normally brings something uh, bad in her mind or in his mind, because we have witnessed many parents who have been bringing children to register them at the school. They've been saying this, our son or this one doesn't have mind. You register him in the place that you want, but at the end of the time, when we start teaching them, we found those one who have been saying that they are not intelligent. They are the very intelligent. So that is what I wanted to share. Anyway, thank you for the workshop of today.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much for that story. As we see, we are trying to make this a topic of discussion on so many forums, because we also come from environments where we've been beaten up, people have spoken words against us or poorly about us in a sense, and we really need to be there to support those who actually need us. It's our human mandate at the end of the day. But thank you so much for that story. Anyone else?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is me, Innocent.
Yes.
I wanted to ask about a question on negativity, because you said that we should protect ourselves from negative words. So I would like to ask you to tell me, or to tell us of how we can protect ourselves from those negative words that come from other people. And also thank you for the presentation, because it was really awesome. I enjoyed it, and I hope others also enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you. As I said earlier, the conversation begins with you. He was talking about the voices. So negative words are just voices, negative voices. So if you wake up in the morning and you speak to yourself positive voices through the mindfulness that we're saying, and when you catch yourself speaking negative to yourself, you say, no, 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 no. I am not a failure. I am this. You remind yourself. It is an active, it is work. It is work. It doesn't come automatic. You put in the work and you speak to yourself. That is where it starts. That's why I said, instead of just waking up and landing into the day, you don't know what stressors are waiting for you. It's more ideal to first speak to yourself and set the conversation in your head that you're going to listen to and refer to in the event of a trigger or a stressor. But then again, when you find yourself in that situation, you can remove yourself. But if the option of removing yourself from the conversation is not there, then maybe like it's your boss or a parent shouting at you, you can still have an internal conversation. You don't need to hear. Yes, you're hearing, but you don't need to internalize those words that they're saying to you. As they are speaking, you start a conversation with yourself on the inside and say, no, 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 what this person is saying is not true. I am strong. I'm going to do this. I can accomplish this, such that you can try to drown out those outside voices. If you're in a situation where you can remove yourself from the conversation, then exit the conversation.
Yeah, it's very, very important. If you're in a scenario where you cannot move away and excuse yourself from that conversation, you need to now build mental resilience.
Yes.
There's a book called by a gentleman called Viktor Frankl. I'm forgetting the title of the book, but this is a man who was there during World War. He was a Jew, and he was in those concentration camps. And basically, the entire time he was there, it was a very hopeless situation. But he was able to learn how to find meaning by helping other people who were still in that really bad environment. And he went on to write a book. I'm really forgetting the name, but I'll just type it here so that you can look for him. Viktor Frankl. And in this book, he built mental resilience. He understood that they don't understand. So when you come to this understanding, I've actually come to this understanding of maturity. When you sit down and say, this person speaking poor or really bad words to me, they simply don't know any better. They simply were in a scenario where it was done to them, and that's all they know. They don't know any better. And when I came to that understanding, it helped me build the mental resilience to simply just ignore the words that they were saying, and then return back to them and say, why do you speak like that? Did something happen to you, or was someone abusing you back in your past when you were younger, to make you feel like this is the best approach that you can use, you know. So I begin asking them questions back, not to abuse them, not to say you're stupid back or to fight with them, but because I've come to the point of building mental resilience by first understanding who I am and understanding why people might have certain bad behaviors. And once I understood that, it built mental resilience. So I can be in a really bad environment, but separate myself, separate that person from the behavior, and know that this person simply means well, and they want to be a good person, but they just don't know how. It's just a knowledge gap. That's basically all it is. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for listening in, and I hope you can subscribe. It's Zantu with double A, ZAANTU, to Zantu Speaks. It's a new channel, but we are trying to spread awareness. We're trying to increase the conversation. So join us, support us. And if you have a story to share about mental wellness, health, depression, stress, or anything, you are so welcome. Have a blessed evening. Thank you, Andrew, for organizing. And we hope for more of these events so that we can spread this awareness even more.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night. See you tomorrow, same time, same link. Bye.
Bye.